Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. It's Saturday night. I just got out of work a little while ago, probably like 15 minutes ago. And I just headed to the studio. And I had this live planned for tomorrow night, but I didn't have anything to do. So why not hang out with all of you fine folks? And I'll kind of tell you a little bit how I decided to do this live. Just give me 1 second here, and hopefully all my internet issues are gonna resolve tonight. That would be great. But I'll tell you this: I reached out to my landlord. He's such a nice guy, and I kind of told him what was going on. And I said, "Look, it's been going on for a little while. I bought a Wi-Fi booster. I tried to reset things in here, and I felt bad because he literally just put brand new air conditioning in the whole building, and I didn't want to stress him out with Wi-Fi issues. But I wrote to him this morning. He was very responsive, reached back out to me and said, "Not a problem. We can run a hard line right in your room," which is going to be awesome. It's going to be a direct line. Should be no more issue streaming, and it will actually be a lot more crystal clear because I'm not streaming anymore through Wi-Fi. So it'll be a direct line. And I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to clear up a lot of things. So, Ben, if you're watching, thank you so much for being so kind and so awesome here. And the community inside this building is such a great group of people that are here and have been very accepting of what I do here. So if you are watching, thank you for being you, and thank you for accepting me in this building. It's been such a pleasure being here. And, I hope that LTL can be here for a very long time. And he's definitely making it very comfortable here for me. So we'll try to get through tonight. I think things are going to be ironed out. He actually told me that he reset some Wi-Fi stuff. So maybe that was the interference. He actually said he did it, I believe, yesterday. So maybe that was causing some of the issues. But we're going to get a direct line in here. I think that's going to solve everything. So we don't have to worry about nothing going forward because I'm drawing a lot of power and Wi-Fi in this room. And that's probably what's going on. But anyway, I digress. Thank you for being here. But let's do this as typical, like we always do tonight. All donations that come in will get kicked back to, I'm sorry, all donations. 25% of all donations tonight will get kicked back to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I did see a new member when I came in, and I want to highlight that. So we'll start off with $5. So Jen Del Rio, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Your $5 donation will go towards Karen Reed. 25% of it will go towards Karen Reed tonight. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. I see all the names. Thanks for being here. I think we have a really great show out tonight. Karen Stoppel checking in since Monday is Canada Day, which is like our Thanksgiving, I think, for you, or yeah, I think it's like our Thanksgiving for you. So happy Canada Day. And she says, I hope you pray that the jury gives me an extra reason to celebrate. Free Karen Reed. I will let you know all of this. I have a surprise announcement. I will be back at the courthouse on Monday. So I will stream in the morning live. We can watch the walk-in from Karen from court, and I will try to do my best to update all of you throughout the day as I'm down there. And if we get a verdict on Monday, I'm going to try to stream so you all can see it. If not, I will at least capture the moment of video when the verdict is read, and I'll be able to post that video later on. So I'm super excited to be there. Can't wait to be back out there. Listen, I've worked too hard. We've all worked too hard. I don't want to miss the moment when that jury comes out and says that Karen Reed is not guilty. I want to be there for that, and we should be there for that. We should be there to celebrate. So I'm very excited to be back there out on Monday with all of the supporters and to support Team Reed, her friends, her family, and just be collective and be able to hear that verdict come down of not guilty and just have that feeling of the weight being lifted off our shoulders, and we can all celebrate together. So let's do this. So tonight, what I wanted to do is I actually never heard or haven't heard yet Alan Jackson's closing statement or closing argument. And I thought it would be great to go over that. But I said, you know what I really wanted to do was pull some highlights from this trial where each attorney Karen's attorneys shined. David, Elizabeth, and Alan Jackson. And I really wanted to pull from that and go over some of that and kind of, go over those testimony, those cross-examinations, and those opening statements and the closing arguments, and just really highlight where I felt were really pivotal moments for each attorney. Now, we look at Alan Jackson. Alan Jackson did a lot of cross during this trial, and we can go and watch Proctor. I don't want to watch that again. I don't think that we need to go over that again. I've heard enough of that, and I think I'm done. I don't need to hear that. We could say Colin Albert was a very pivotal moment, but I'm going to pull out, I think, which was, to me, the most pivotal moment in Alan Jackson's cross, and we'll get to that. I'm not going to say the person who I think it is, but we'll pull it up here in a minute. But let me just pull this up really quick. Stephanie, thank you for the $10. Said, please go over to Jen and Proctor's testimony. I'm not going to play Proctor. I don't need to go over that again. I just don't. I don't need to relive it. I don't want to hear it. It's in my memory now, and in the back of my memory. It's just something that I don't want to relive. And it's not too YouTube friendly with with the C word that was thrown out there. I know a lot of my streams get demonetized through that, so I don't really want to go over it. Yes, was it a very pivotal moment in this case? Absolutely. But do I think that there's another piece of testimony that was much more pivotal than that? Sure. We're going to go through it. Let me see this. Tara, thank you so much for the $10. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Karen comes back with a $5 Canadian. We'll make it $5 US. Canada Day is our birthday, just like your 4th of July. Oh, okay. So I was wrong. I thought it was more like Thanksgiving. So I was wrong. Anyway, let's get to the show tonight. And what I want to start this off with, which I felt was the most powerful moment for David Yannetti, was the opening statement. And let's play through that. I love it. And he bangs out hard right away and hits it with the defining sentence and just puts this trial on the map and wakes up the world. And he's going to say, you're going to listen, and I'm going to show you, and I'm going to tell you. So let's play through that.
It was framed.
Go back a little bit.
Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. And that means that somebody else did. You will learn that it was no accident that John O'Keefe was found dead on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road in Canton on January 29th of 2022. You will learn that at that address lived a well-known and well-connected law enforcement family in Canton.
Let me just stop this right here. Karen Reed was framed. That's it. That sums up this whole argument and all of the details that David's going to go through, and he really shines. And I felt like he really connected with that jury. He woke him up. You literally got slumbered to death by one Adam Lunchbox Lally, and then all of a sudden the defense gets up and says those 4 words, and it just wakes you up. Wow. Okay, you've got me. You've pulled me in now. I'm gonna listen. And I wish I could have been there to see the jurors' reactions that day when David was up making this opening statement. All right, let's keep playing.
The Alberts. Because the Alberts were involved, and because they had close connections to the investigators in this case,
it is going to be a little bit of a lengthy show.
Karen Reed was framed for a murder she did not commit. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. As I previously told you,
I love that. How he opened, he gave context to what he was talking about. It was kind of like an introduction or a prefix. And now he starts introducing himself back to the jury again. Good morning, making that connection with those jurors. I love that. Absolutely love it.
my name is David Yannetti. I'm an attorney with an office in Boston, together with attorneys Alan Jackson and Elizabeth Little.
Love this.
It is truly my privilege and my honor to represent Karen Reed during this trial. From a very early juncture in this case, you will question the Commonwealth's theory of the case. You will question the quality of the Commonwealth's evidence. You will question
something that I've always loved too. Elizabeth Little, closest to the jury, woman. You have Alan Jackson. You have Karen Reed, woman, and then David Yannetti, how they all sat. And then the two leading attorneys had Karen right in the middle. Protection. They wanted to protect her. And that's kind of the way that I look at it. And again, this is just my opinion, but I love the lineup. Woman, male, woman, male. Love it. Absolutely love it.
the veracity of the Commonwealth's witnesses. And you will question their shoddy and biased investigation, a faulty investigation that led to Karen Reed sitting here today. You will learn, in short, that the police did no real investigation of this case, and you will question why. You'll question why the investigators had such tunnel vision. You'll question why they focused solely on Karen Reed, someone with no ties to the Canton Police Department, as opposed to the well-known and well-connected Albert family of Canton, a family that was never treated as suspects by the investigators in this case. Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found mortally injured on Brian Albert's front lawn. His body was in full view and almost right below Brian Albert's bedroom window on his front lawn.
Jules the cat, thank you. A lot of Canadians in here tonight. I love it. Thanks for joining tonight. And says, after this trial, Lally can go be a crash test dummy for ARCA. I love that. Sending love from Canna and free Karen Reed. That's so awesome. That's so funny. Absolutely love it.
He was found wearing only one sneaker. You'll learn that Brian Albert was a Boston police officer as well, and that he was a trained first responder. Brian Albert was notified that another police officer was injured and unresponsive on his front lawn, and Brian Albert did nothing. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, and other civilians were on his property that morning after John O'Keefe's body was found. Police, EMTs, firefighters, police cruisers, an ambulance, fire truck, lights flashing, and first responder Brian Albert never came out of his house. Equally important for you will be the fact that the lead homicide investigators never went inside the Albert home that night. You'll learn that Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, is a Canton police officer. It was obvious very early on that the Canton police should not be investigating the death of a man found on the property of the brother of a Canton police officer. So
thank you for the gifted 5 memberships. I appreciate that. That's $5 a piece. That's $25. We'll add that to the rolling total. We like to try to get to at least $50 for Karen. So 25% of that will be kicked up to Karen Reed, and we'll keep the total going here. Look at this, Australia in the house tonight. That's awesome. Cape Cod, Wisconsin, a lot of Canadians in here tonight. That's really cool. And yeah, enjoy those memberships. All right,
it was decided just about from the start that the Massachusetts State Police should take complete control of this investigation because the Canton police were conflicted.
Raft and Mass.
Now, that sounded good at the time, but you'll learn that 2 major problems arose. First, despite the fact that they obviously had a conflict of interest, the evidence will show that the Canton police still had their hands in this investigation. You will find it astounding. But Canton police officer Kevin Albert, the reason for the conflict of interest in the first place, was continually updated about the status of this investigation while it was going on. Second, and equally troubling, is that the lead state police detective who was assigned to this case was a man named Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor, you will learn, is one of the many people in Canton with deep ties to the Albert family. Michael Proctor's own mother refers to the Alberts as the Proctor's second family. His own sister's wedding, Michael Proctor was in the wedding party with Colin Albert, and he sat at the head table of that wedding with members of the Albert family. That's the.
You know what I noticed about this too, and I should have went back and compared with Lally and David Yannetti. David Yannetti seems so relaxed here. His body language, in my opinion, seems open. He seems welcoming, very well dressed, very nice. And just really looking at those jurors, using the hand motions and connecting with his audience. Essentially, they're listening to him right in front of him, and connecting, making a lot of eye contact with the jurors, where Lally was, kind of slunched over on the podium, looking forward, talking like this. And this is what I'm going to tell you about. Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe. And I'm going to tell you about the waterfall. And when she went to, you know what I'm saying? But this is just more like, he's very relaxed. It's almost like he's talking to an old friend. And that's what I really love about David's opening statement here. It's fantastic. Great stuff.
Who was chosen to lead the investigation into the suspicious death.
Very relaxed.
On the property, Brian Albert. That's the man who gave updates to Canton Police Officer Kevin Albert, while the state police were supposed to be investigating what had occurred at his brother Brian Albert's house. You'll learn that right from the jump, Michael Proctor predetermined the outcome of this case.
Brenda B, thank you for the $5 Canadian.
January 29th, 2022.
It is worldwide.
Never checked out whether there were any signs of
Thank you.
struggle inside that home. He never called for crime scene technicians and other specialists to look for blood or other trace evidence within the home. He never asked Brian Albert for permission to go in the home and take a look around. Michael Proctor never applied for a search warrant to go in that home. Instead, he focused immediately and exclusively.
But dial Brian, $10. Thank you. If this trial ends in a mistrial, and if retried, the next jury will surely know about the FBI investigation, don't you think? I do. I don't think Lally has round 2 in him. I think it's going to open up a lot of new things. And that's why, like I felt the other day when, I was out, I always keep saying the other day, it was literally yesterday. When I was out in court yesterday, you saw, I always like to look at Alan Jackson. And I saw Alan Jackson's face when they're doing the first walk over from court and going back to Camp Reed. Alan's face was very tight and not as, didn't have a smile. Didn't really motion to the crowd on the first walkthrough. And then when they were called back to court and they had heard the note about being hung, I know a lot of people, this upsets people, but it gives Karen at least 2 options now. And it engages the defense right now that there's a battle going on inside that jury room. It kind of tips them off a little bit, where you got someone or a bunch of people that, in my opinion, I think it's a bunch of people that are saying not guilty, and you have maybe 1 or 2 that are sitting there and they're standing on it and they're just going, nope, I'm not going to give up the spot. So hopefully, the jurors go home this weekend. They think, and I think once you're not guilty, you ain't getting someone over on the guilty side. It ain't happening. And that's why I feel like, in my opinion, it's a lot of people that are not guilty. I mean, even just gauging all of the polls that I've seen, like 90, no, not 90, it was like 80% of people think that Karen Reed is not guilty. So I would say maybe 2 people, maybe 1 person's holding out right now. But as far as going round 2, I don't see it. I just don't really think it's going to happen. But I would love just to have Karen that not guilty verdict, and that's it. She's over. She's cleared her name. It's over. It's done. Don't have to deal with it anymore. See you later. Sayonara. Now it's time for me to grieve. Now it's time for me to move on with my life. So I would rather just see that in total. I think I just saw another chat come through. John Duncan, thank you. Bev was like Lally's loving mom through the whole trial. Choo-choo Lally, open wide. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's keep playing through this.
On Karen Reed, the outsider, you will learn that no one in the Proctor family has ever called the Reed family their second family. No one in the Proctor family had been in a wedding party with anyone from the Reed family. Karen Reed was a convenient outsider. She was most definitely not from Canada. So how did Michael Proctor feel about her? How did he treat somebody he was investigating at a point in time when he should have been keeping an open mind, focusing on obtaining all possible evidence so that he didn't miss anything? Well, you will learn that on the very day that John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Michael Proctor was texting with his high school buddies about this supposedly secret investigation, using his personal cell phone. He was revealing information about this investigation to his friends, assuming that nobody would ever find out what he was doing and what he was saying. And he was revealing his true thoughts about Karen Reed to his friends, not what he put in his sanitized police reports, his true feelings to his friends whom he trusted, and in text messages that he never thought would come into the hands of the defense in this case. Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor, right from the start, called Karen Reed names he would reserve only for your worst enemies.
It's pretty bad.
He told his friends that he hoped that she would kill herself. He told his friends that he had seized her cell phone. And you will learn that he knew he shouldn't have been accessing any content on her cell phone because he knew there would likely be attorney-client communications on between Karen and me at that time. He knew that he was supposed to wait for a search warrant or other permission from a judge in order to go through that phone. But you'll learn that he went through the phone anyway, without permission. And
real quick, I just want to talk about the jury real quick. The one thing we don't want is the jury to go home this weekend and come back on Monday morning. And let's say it's the juror that's holding out, or maybe maybe it's one juror that's holding out. They go, I've had enough. I've tapped out. And then you have to have an alternate come in, and guess what they got to do? Deliberate all over again. That's not what you want. Not what you want. Definitely not. But Brian, thank you so much.
He told his high school buddies.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That he was searching her phone for nude photos of Karen Reed. And he was disappointed he hadn't found any yet. That is the professional and unbiased investigator who's chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe. You'll learn that one of Michael Proctor's high school friends commented to him that with a dead body on the front lawn, the homeowner in this case is surely going to catch a lot of grief. And do you know what Michael Proctor's response to that was? One word. Nope.
Yep.
And he explained why. Michael Proctor assured his wife that the homeowner would not catch a lot of grief because, quote, the homeowner's a Boston cop too. End quote.
Cindy, $5.
That one sentence, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Proctor's own words will explain a lot to you about how this investigation was conducted. You will be able to evaluate whether Trooper Michael Proctor treated Brian Albert and his family differently because of who they are and their relationships between his family and theirs. You will evaluate whether this investigation was on the up and up. You will decide, as a result, how valuable or worthless the prosecution's DNA evidence is or is not, in light of who controlled that evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor's fingerprints are figuratively all over this case. His fingerprints are all over the Commonwealth's evidence. You will learn that Michael Proctor showed up at Karen Reed's parents' house in Dayton to interview her during the afternoon of January 29th, only hours after John O'Keefe's body.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. I just wouldn't miss it for the world. If something happens, like, I need to be there. You know, if I can make it happen just to be there one more day, absolutely. Just how close we are right now, I have to be there for that. You know, work too hard. I'm not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss a possible verdict. You know, I have to make it happen. So I made arrangements and I will be there on Monday. So, all right, let's keep playing through.
Was found dead on Brian Albert's front lawn. You'll learn that Michael Proctor had her Lexus SUV towed from her parents' home. But you'll also learn that he wrote a search warrant in which he falsified the time that he took that SUV. He swore under oath that the vehicle wasn't towed until 5:30 p.m. But you'll learn that we obtained surveillance footage that he didn't know we would get. And that surveillance footage exposed that Michael Proctor's...
John, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Welcome in new members. I appreciate that. So 5 times 25, 5 times 20, 5 times 5, 25. So we'll add $25 to the total tonight. I appreciate that, John. All right, let's keep hearing David Yanetti's masterful opening.
Words in that sworn affidavit were a lie. Michael Proctor had that vehicle for about 90 minutes.
Yes, come in and say hi, Robin. Anytime. Come say hi.
And folks, you will learn that the timing is important, very important. Because when John O'Keefe was first found on Brian Albert's front lawn, the police thoroughly searched that yard for potential evidence. And it wasn't just one officer, or 2, or 3. There were at least 4 officers that searched that front lawn. And that morning was the beginning of a snowstorm, but there wasn't yet much snow on the ground when they were searching that mall. It was light out by the time they did the search, and it was getting lighter. And during that thorough search of Brian Albert's front lawn, the number of pieces of taillight that were found by a minimum of 4 officers looking for evidence was 0. It was only later in the day, when the snow was really starting to accumulate, that the police miraculously started to find pieces of taillight on the property. The police only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had seized Karen Reed's car. They only started to find pieces of taillight after Michael Proctor had possession of her taillight. You'll learn that Trooper Michael Proctor then kept going back to the Albert residence after that day, and he claims to have kept finding pieces of taillight on multiple occasions on multiple different days. And in addition, a good week after John O'Keefe's death, Canton Police Chief Kenneth Berkowitz, an older officer on the brink of retirement with probably not the best eyesight, he supposedly was driving, happened to be driving past Brian Albert's house. And by the way, Brian Albert is someone with whom Chief Berkowitz is also good friends. And this older man allegedly spotted yet another piece of taillight from his moving vehicle. This was yet another piece of taillight that was somehow missed by the trained specialist who had previously and thoroughly searched the property. Another piece of taillight that Proctor supposedly missed in the many times he went back to the property.
Oh, I just had a Cash App come through. Let's look at that. Let's see. Barbara, thank you so much. I don't know if it's Venmo or Cash App, but $10 says, thank you, Brian, for your honest and selfless coverage of Karen's story. I appreciate all that you have done to help us. Thank you so much, Barbara. We'll add the $10 and we'll kick back 25% of that to Karen Reed's defense fund. Okay, let's keep going.
Michael Proctor claims that he kept finding pieces of taillight right up until February 18th of 2022, which was nearly 3 weeks after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's home. You will learn that there is no competent evidence that Karen Reed's taillight shattered at Brian Albert's property in the early morning hours of January 29th of 2022. To the contrary, you'll learn that when Karen left John at Brian Albert's house, she drove back to John's house on Meadows Ave across town in Canton. At John's home, where he lived with his 2 adopted children, Karen was drifting in and out of sleep, but she woke up for good in a panic sometime around 4 a.m. because John hadn't come home. And that was not like him at all. He had never done that before. Karen had a sinking feeling that something was wrong. Something was seriously wrong. So she got back into her Lexus, and she backed up out of the garage to leave the driveway. And when she did, the right rear taillight of her Lexus struck John's parked vehicle in the driveway, and her taillight cracked. That was the same taillight that the prosecution now claims was broken outside the Albert residence hours earlier at 12:30.
Thank you, K-Jab. Thanks for being here.
Video
Appreciate
evidence
you.
that the taillight was actually broken at 5 a.m., many hours after the prosecution needs that taillight to have been broken. There is, of course, no video of the taillight being broken at Brian Albert's house. You will eventually conclude that that's because the taillight was not broken there. Importantly, you will learn that there was an eyewitness who arrived at 34 Fairview after Karen got there with John O'Keefe in the early morning hours of January 29th. And that eyewitness, Brian Nagel, who's the brother of Julie Nagel, who was at the after-hours party that night. He had a clear view of Karen's SUV. Brian Nagel confirms that there was no damage to her taillight at that time. Karen was sitting in the driver's seat with her hands at 10 and 2. And Ryan Nagel confirms that while Karen was inside the car, John O'Keefe was not.
That's big.
John O'Keefe was also not outside the car at that time. You will ultimately conclude there's only one other place he could have been. Now, going back to that 5 a.m. video from John's driveway, you will see Karen back up her Lexus and strike John's car at about 5 a.m. when she was leaving John's house to go out to look for him. And you will know that she struck his car at 5 a.m. because you will watch that video closely. You will witness that the wheels and the hubcaps on John's car are jostled and moved by Karen's SUV. And you will conclude that that video depicts exactly when Karen's taillight was cracked, long after she dropped off John at night at 34 Fairview. And you will learn that part of the reason that
Jen, thank you for becoming a new member.
Was that Karen was panicked at that time. Where is John? Why didn't he come home? What happened to him? And you will learn that she was racking her brain for what possibly could have happened. And like many of us, was worried about the worst. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? That was what she was saying both to herself
I was
and
like when Lally tried, I hit him, Lally, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. No. How about you're saying that I hit him? I hit him? I mean, how do you know that's I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him? It doesn't make any sense. Someone that wanted someone dead called them over 50 times to figure out where they were. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Usually, if you're calling someone multiple times, you're trying to find out where they are. I don't know. That's logic in my book.
to other people later that morning when she went back to 34 Fairview. She couldn't think of anything else that made sense. She certainly didn't consider in a million years that someone from within the Albert home could have beaten up John and left him to die on the front lawn. Now, that was over 2 years ago. Karen didn't know then what you will learn during this trial. Karen didn't know that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house sometime after Karen pulled away. She didn't know that after Jennifer McCabe dropped off some people elsewhere, she returned to her own home. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe climbed some stairs in her home and eventually made it into her bedroom with her cell phone. Karen didn't know that Jennifer McCabe settled in at 2:27 in the morning on January 29, 2022, and typed a Google search that she would later delete. 2:27 in the morning was over 3 hours before John O'Keefe's body was found on Brian Albert's lawn. 2:27 was over 3 hours before anyone knew or suspected that John O'Keefe was missing or hurt or in trouble. And at 2:27 in the morning, you will learn that with no one watching her, thinking she was alone with her thoughts, and not worrying that anyone would know what she was doing, Jennifer McCabe typed in the following Google search: how long to die in the cold? Now, she misspelled the first word, so the actual search was long to die in the cold, but you'll get the point. You will ask yourself, why would somebody Google how long does it take for someone to die in the cold? Unless that person knew someone who either was in that situation or would be in that situation. You will question during this trial, who was it who actually did die in the cold at some point that night, sometime after Jen McCabe was asking Google for an answer to her question. And you'll learn that the answer to that question was John O'Keefe. The medical examiner in this case will testify that one of the causes of John O'Keefe's death was hypothermia. John O'Keefe died in part because he was left to die in the cold. Now, the Commonwealth will try to dispute the timing of that Google search. They'll try to claim that there were only 2 Google searches at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. after John's body was found. But one problem for the Commonwealth will be that we have retained Richard Green, one of the leading computer forensic experts in the country. Rick Green has forensically analyzed Jennifer McCabe's phone, both manually and using every appropriate type of computer software to solve this issue. Rick Green will confirm for you that Jennifer McCabe did indeed make that search at 2:27 a.m. And another problem for the Commonwealth is that you will hear and see other evidence that will confirm that Jennifer McCabe is lying when she denies making that Google search at 2:27 a.m. You will conclude that before she went to bed, if she went to bed that night, Jennifer McCabe wanted to know just how long it would take for someone to die in the cold. And a big question in this trial for you will be, when was John O'Keefe left to die in the cold? I expect the Commonwealth will try to persuade you that he was left there sometime around 12:30 a.m. because they're going to try to prove to you that Karen Reed hit him and that his body stayed there the entire night until first responders arrived at 6 a.m. and his body was taken to the hospital. But you will learn that there are big problems with the Commonwealth's theory of this case. You will learn that there were 6 people at that after-hours party at Brian Albert's house, all of whom left by the front door and would have been confronted by John O'Keefe's lifeless body on that lawn if he was actually there at that time. Those 6 people walked out the front door to 34 Fairview, walked to their cars, either in the driveway or parked in front of the house. Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, was there. Her husband, Matthew McCabe, was there. ATF federal agent Brian Higgins was there, who was also Brian Albert's friend. Sarah Levinson, a friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. Julie Nagel, another friend of Brian Albert Jr., was there. And Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert's daughter, was also there. All of them leaving the residence. Each of those people left 34 Fairview in Canton, where Brian Albert lived. Each of them walked out facing the front lawn, where the Commonwealth will tell you that a 6'2", nearly 220-pound big man in dark clothing was sprawled on the front lawn when there was only a dusting of white snow on the ground. He was supposedly sprawled on that lawn, just feet from where these people were walking when they left the residence.
I love when he does that. The beat. He always has that crack in his voice to try to get that point across. So I just dropped a poll at the top of the chat. If you all can interact with that, and I'm asking the question: how many jurors do you think are holding out for a not guilty? And I put guilty. I forgot the G. Not guilty verdict. Right now, one is 50, almost 60%. 35% of you think that it's 2, 3% think 5% think it's 3, and then they think it's split right down the middle, 2%. So how many jurors do you think are holding out for a not guilty verdict? I'll come back to it a little later. We'll check it out. 154 votes right now. All right, let's go.
And you will learn that not one of these people saw John O'Keefe laying. Not one. And you know who else saw no one laying outside in the early morning hours of January 29th? The snowplow driver in charge of plowing the street for the city of Canton. And this is another big problem for the Commonwealth. You will learn that Michael Proctor, here's that name again, wrote a report where he claimed that the DPW supervisor had told him that Fairview Road had not been plowed that night. Proctor's total investigation on this issue consisted of one phone call and no follow-up. He just submitted his report that simply said the road hadn't been plowed that night, perhaps thinking that no one else would follow up either. But you'll learn that when it came to finding out the truth, it's not that Proctor couldn't find the truth, it's that he wouldn't. But fortunately, you'll learn that we would, and we did.
If you all just coming in, I just saw a bunch of people come into the room. Basically, what we're doing tonight is just kind of going back to some highlight moments that I picked were really pivotal moments for each attorney on Karen Reed's defense team. I started out, I'm going to probably do this in pretty much order too. I started out with David Yetti's outstanding opening statement, and we're almost through it here. We got about another 12 minutes or so in this, and then I'll move on to the next pivotal moment. And it will be with Alan Jackson. So I can't wait to get to that, and we'll see what moment I picked. All right, let's keep playing here.
You'll learn that within weeks after January 29th, we sent our investigator,
thanks for
former
the
Medford police officer named Paul McCabe,
1 million
to the
defense.
Canton DPW
To
try to get to the bottom of this.
What do you
Paul
think?
McCabe
Hang
talked to
out
the
is?
same
I
supervisor.
think it's one person. I think it's one person. I feel it's probably one person that's got their feet stuck in cement and they're not budging, because it gives me some hope that they were close, and maybe, you know, they're going over this with this person. Like, look, you logically have to look at this. Because they asked for more time. They said they wanted to go until 4:15 the other day. Remember, they wanted another half an hour or so. So I think we're close. The one thing we don't want is that jury to go home and come back and then tap out on Monday and say, I'm done. And then you have to bring in an alternate, and they literally have to deliberate over again. All right, let's keep going.
At the DPW, a man named Michael Trotta, whom Proctor claimed had told him that the street hadn't been plowed that night. You'll learn that Paul McCabe found out that Michael Proctor was not telling the truth. You'll learn that Michael Trotta from the DPW told Paul McCabe, our investigator, that the street was indeed plowed that night, and that the name of the plow driver was Brian Laughlin.
Lucky.
So Paul McCabe tracked down Brian Laughlin. He asked Mr. Laughlin if the state police or any investigators had ever spoken to him.
One person too.
And the answer came back, no. You will then learn what Brian Laughlin had to say about what he saw and didn't see that night, and you will be shocked. Brian Laughlin told Paul McCabe that he was driving a big snowplow in Canton that night. You'll learn that the nickname for it at the DPW was Frankenstein.
Yeah, Paul just saying, I think everyone needs to take a deep breath. I mean, like I said, you know, when I asked David at the end, David, how are you feeling? He said, feeling optimistic. I think they feel good. I can share with this. I was talking to someone in the Reed camp yesterday, and they actually said that Karen was actually really relaxed and calm, and it was a different day yesterday. They almost were, you know, they were talking about old movies that they watched, so it seemed like she was in really good spirits. And it was just more of a, she's just stayed really, really relaxed yesterday. And like I said, you have two options now. I think it's going to come to not guilty. They just have to swing maybe that one person, or, we don't want to see a hung jury and have to start this all over again, because I don't think the Commonwealth's going to pursue it. There's so much time and then so much more new evidence that could come into this. So, looking at all of that, but Karen was in good spirits, and they looked in good spirits leaving the courtroom, yesterday. So I think we're close. I think we're really close. And I have to say, like Paul said, just need to take a deep breath. I think the worst thing that we can do right now is get involved in rumors and people saying that a juror is paid off and all that. Let me just logically put this out there. If there was any inkling of that, do you not think that Karen's team wouldn't fully investigate that and figure it out? You got to remember, they are the ones that helped pick this jury. They helped pick this jury. So, if there was any inkling of any of that, Alan Jackson and Team Reed is so smart, they would sniff this out in 2 seconds, and it would be a fucking major, new worldwide news story. It would just, holy shit. Can you imagine? We already deal with enough bullshit in the justice system when what we're dealing with in this case, but oh my God, if that ever got out, holy fuck, it would be crazy. People would just be, it would be bedlam. So they're smart. They would figure it out. Believe me. Well, I want everybody to kind of just stay out of, listen, this is the stance that I'm taking. I want everybody to stay out of the rumors. It doesn't help the situation talking about it. It's in the jury's hands, and just, we have to let them do their job right now. All right. We'll
because they have a lot of spare parts and they've been around forever. Brian Lawford told Paul Makowski that when he plows the streets of Canton in Frankenstein, he's very careful.
Nancy, thank you so much. $50. $50. We're going to add that to the total. And let's see. Shocking to me how Judge Bev dislikes Alan Jackson. Thank you for doing what you do from your channel doing your channel doing this trial. You're a class act. Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate that. And thank you for your $49.99 super chat. We'll add that. We'll round it up to a 50, and then we'll add that. Take that 25% and kick it back to Karen. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. It helps us get to the goal of trying to make as much as we can to give back to Karen. So appreciate that. All right, let's get through this.
Sure to check not only the roads in front of him, but also the yards to the side of his plow. He makes sure not to hit a fire hydrant or a tree or an animal, or heaven forbid, a person lying in the snow. He's always on the lookout. You'll learn that Brian Lawford passed by 34 Fairview in his plow, traveling right by Brian Albert's front lawn at 2:30 in the morning.
Thank you.
You'll learn that Brian Lawford confirms that at about 2:30 when he went by that house, John O'Keefe was not on that front lawn. So you'll learn that about 2 hours after the Commonwealth claims that Karen Reed somehow incapacitated John O'Keefe, an eyewitness confirms that not only could it not have happened, but it didn't happen. But you'll learn that Brian Lawford also provides some other troubling testimony for the Commonwealth. You'll learn that after making that pass at 2:30 in the morning and seeing no body,
I think if it goes hung, it's going to tell you right now, you're never going to find a jury that's going to convict Karen Reed. And going back to an earlier comment here, I think Butt Dial Brian said, there's going to be so much information out there and everybody's going to know about this. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to want to go through retrying this case. If you think the crowd outside is big now, holy shit, it'll be quadruple the size of the crowd that would come into Dedham and go through this. This would gain mega attention, and it already has. But I'm just saying, if you think now the crowd is big, forget it. You're not fitting all the people that are going to come into the area when this trial starts all over again. They're not going to want to go through that. Let's see. Norma F, thank you. What if the foreman's holding out for Auntie Bev since she selected him? I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't want to speculate on it. I just want the jury to do their job. I want the jury to come in Monday and say, Karen Reed is not guilty, acquitted, and just let her go home and let her, pick up the pieces of her life, let her grieve John, and then let's start getting down to brass tacks and going after people that are truly responsible for what happened at 34 Fairview. Scooter, thank you. New member, $5. We'll add that over. Thanks for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Wine Cellar Infused says, I think it's one male juror holding it up, which would explain all the jurors' frustration that seems to be at play. And thank you for the show. Awesome human. Thank you so much. And a lot of Canadians, again, a lot of my Canadian friends are watching tonight. I appreciate that. Duncan, John, thank you. $10 Aussie. Appreciate you. Waiting to see what evidence the feds will do post-trial. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I think they're going to go after a lot of people when this is all over. All right, let's keep going here.
He showed up again at the entrance to Fairview Road, intending to make another pass down it with his plow. This time, however, at about 3:30 in the morning, he looked down the street and he saw that parked
Love that.
right next to Brian Albert's front lawn, right in the very area where John O'Keefe's body was later found at 6 a.m.,
there.
Brian Laughlin saw a
it.
Ford Edge parked on the side of the road. You will learn that the police have done zero investigation to discover whose Ford Edge that was. You'll learn that members of the Albert family drove Ford Edges. You'll learn that the police to this day claim not to know who was parked right next to the area where John O'Keefe's body was later found. You'll learn that while investigators on this case, including Michael Proctor, completely ignored the snowplow driver who went right by the Albert residence, the defense not only tracked him down and interviewed him, but the plow driver actually took our investigator on a ride back past the residence to explain the precise route that he had taken on January 29th.
Wow. I forgot about that.
You'll learn that some other curious things were going on in the early morning hours of January 29th. Curious things that the police in this case utterly failed to investigate. For example, after people left the after-hours party at Brian Albert's house on January 29, Brian Albert claimed that he had no contact with anyone but his wife until he was woken up in the morning. But you will learn that he was ultimately confronted by the fact that his phone records revealed that he had actually placed a phone call to ATF agent Brian Higgins, his friend, the same friend who had been at his house earlier that night. And that was at 2:22 in the morning. You'll learn that Brian Higgins called him back 17 seconds later, and they connected 22 seconds on their cell phones. You'll be asked to consider just how long 22 seconds is and what could be said and discussed during that long of a phone call. You will consider that phone call in the context of the other curious things that were going on during the early morning hours of January 29th. You will learn about the following in chronological order. 2:12 a.m., Jennifer McCabe arrives at her home.
This is so good.
2:22 a.m., Brian Albert calls Brian Higgins.
I love this.
2:22 a.m., 17 seconds later, Higgins calls him back. And Brian Albert and Brian Higgins are on the phone together for 22 seconds. 2:23 a.m., Jennifer McCabe climbs the stairs to her bedroom. 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe searches on Google how long to die in the cold. 2:30 a.m., plow driver Brian Laughlin confirms there was no body on Brian Albert's front lawn. 3:30 a.m., Brian Laughlin confirms that a Ford Edge was parked right where John O'Keefe's body was later found. The Commonwealth will not be able to successfully dispute any of those facts, yet I expect that they will persist in asking you to convict Carrie Reid anyway. You will learn that there are other major problems with the Commonwealth's theory. You'll learn that when John O'Keefe was found, he did not look like he had been hit by a car. You'll learn that he looked to have been attacked and beaten up. You'll learn that John O'Keefe was a large 6'2" man who, if positioned behind a Lexus SUV, would have had his torso completely exposed to the rear of that vehicle, including to the taillight. You'll learn that no part of his torso was injured. There was no bruising, no ridges, no scratches, no punctures. You'll learn that his chest and hips and legs
I didn't even realize. Thank you.
Despite the Commonwealth's contention
We've worked hard.
that he was hit by a 6,000-pound vehicle.
We've all worked hard.
The evidence will show that what was not pristine was his right arm. You will take one look at that arm, and you will conclude that a car did not cause those injuries. The injuries to John O'Keefe's arm appear to be consistent with scratch marks and claw marks, marks that make it look as though an animal.
Nick, how are you? Good to see you in here.
But you won't have to rely
just doing some
just
review tonight for everybody.
When you look at those photos. You'll hear from an expert forensic pathologist who is world renowned.
Nick, I'll see you down there on Monday. If you're going.
And he will
I'll definitely be there. And Scott, if you're out there, I'll see you. Paul, if you're out there, I'm definitely going to be there. It was funny. I got everything worked out, and I texted Jess Machado right away today. I was like, guess who's going to be there on Monday? I'm going to be there. And she was like, woohoo. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be back down there and be with everybody. Awesome, Nick. Can't wait to see you again, brother. It was really nice talking with you, man. You know, I'll tell you, it's been a real pleasure getting to know everybody down there. And you know, everybody's been so accepting and so, you know, so thankful for everything that we've been doing here on, you know, LTL over here and just, you know, it takes a collective team effort. Everybody does their part. I mean, Nick has done so much stuff. Nick is just incredible person that can command and just get things done for Karen. And I, you know, I admire everything that Nick has done for Karen, you know, the fundraising efforts. And, you know, listen, you know, he's got family. I met his kids the other day. He's got a beautiful family. And, you know, the things that he does and comes down there and supports when he can. And, you know, goes into the courtroom with Karen as in Camp Reed and, you know, relaying information back. And, Nick, you've done a great job. You really have. And, you know, it's amazing that we have people like you and we can all collectively, you know, be together in this movement. So, you know, my hat's off to you. You really done a great job in all of this. And, you know, everybody's done their part. It's been pretty amazing. And we just want to get to the end and we just want to hear not guilty and see Karen walk out of those courtroom steps and just go on with her life because she deserves that. So, good stuff, Nick. Really, really, really good stuff.
Testified that those marks are consistent with scratch and claw marks and bite marks from an animal, including a German Shepherd. You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, Brian Albert's family dog, Chloe, was a German Shepherd. You'll learn that Brian Albert has admitted that this dog is not good around.
Maz, are you going Monday? Are you going Monday? I'd love to see you there if you could. It'd be really nice to meet you in person. All right, let's keep going.
You'll learn that on January 29th of 2022, John O'Keefe would have been a stranger to that dog. And you'll learn that Chloe had been the beloved family dog for the Alberts for 7 years. The Albert family loved Chloe. But strangely, as we discuss this dog today, the Albert family doesn't have its beloved Chloe anymore.
Oh, I think he's going to be
You'll learn
there.
that Brian Albert
You
was called
better
to
be
testify
there. I
before the grand jury
want
regarding
to
this
hang out.
matter in April of 2022. And that
Yes, thank you,
did
Patriot.
testify
Listen,
about
you know,
this.
and all the people that have been down there and feeding all of us, I mean, that's fantastic. And, you know, I seriously, I've met so many nice people where, you know, I just turn around and someone's like, Brian, do you have water? Do you need food? You know, everybody's taking care of me. You know, I had access to the Reed camp the other day and they were allowing me to use the restroom. So I didn't have to walk all the way to Deeds building. And, you know, I was allowed to be behind and take video and shoot. And it's really, you know, it's really humbling. And everybody's been so nice and so kind. And, you know, it's not the 10 minutes of the disruption that happened yesterday. You know, it's not that at all. And that's why I put that story out this morning. Cause I said, you know, it was from Fox News and it was like, Karen Reed supporters clash with protesters. It wasn't anything of that. And that's why I said, these people, I'm going to tell you right now, and from what I've heard, they're going to continue to show up until this trial ends. I'm all telling you right now, if you're down there, pay them no mind because this is what they want. You know, pay them no mind. Just turn your back and just walk away from them because it's not going to do any good because they're just there to disrupt what we're doing in a positive energy and a positive light. They're there to disrupt Turtle Boy. And I felt bad for the poor guy the other day. His fucking car's over at the Deeds building. They all go over there knowing that he can't be there and be in any distance of Lindsay because of the mutual restraining orders or whatever, the protection order. And the poor guy couldn't leave. You know, I felt bad for him. He's got family responsibilities to see his kids and stuff like that. And he's over and he's talking to like a trooper for quite a while, you know, and he had to call his attorney. It's a bunch of bullshit, you know, but they know what they're doing, you know, and it's just crap. Don't feed into them. Turn your back, continue to be positive, and, you know, we'll get through the process. All right, let's get through. I'm trying to get through this opening statement because I really want to get to some of this other material I have pulled up, some of the highlights of the other attorneys. All right, let's
German Shepherd Chloe during that grand jury testimony. And you'll learn that not long after that testimony, Brian Albert and his family rehomed their beloved family dog. They gave away their family dog, and Chloe, the German Shepherd, is therefore now gone. Now, the Commonwealth will try to take your attention away from all of these troubling facts and try to persuade you not to.
Let's see. New Sharon, thank you. $10. New subscriber here. I'm glad the algorithm brought me to your channel. I've been doing some binge watching. Thank you for all you do. Free Karen Reed and Justice for John O'Keefe. Thanks for being a new subscriber. I love it. Make sure to smash that like button also, because that really helps the algorithm. All right, let's go.
Consider their shocking lack of investigation.
I think maybe I missed this one too. Wine cellar infused, $7 Canadian. I think it's the one meal. No, I think I read this. That's what. Yeah, I read this one already. Okay, cool. Let's go back.
Of anyone else, not to consider John O'Keefe's injuries, not to consider the fact that multiple people left the residence and saw no body.
It was good to see you.
Not to consider the fact that the snowplow driver was specifically looking at 2:30 a.m. and there was no body there. Not to consider the fact that two people in the house were communicating at 2:22 a.m. but denied speaking to each other for 22 seconds. And not to consider the fact that one of their witnesses, who was also present at
see the Twitter
was unusually curious at 2:27 a.m. about how long.
At least thank you. Subscribing. Thank you. Thanks for finding the channel.
Commonwealth will instead try to persuade you that Karen Reed supposedly had a motive to kill John O'Keefe because they were not getting along. You'll hear about their trip to Aruba over New Year's Eve and that Karen was upset that John had been flirting with another woman. And you will hear that Karen considered exploring her options after that trip, which led her to a get-together at one point with ATF federal agent Brian Higgins, although that never went.
I will be there Monday.
But you'll also hear that in January of 2022, after the Aruba trip, and not long before January 28th and 29th, John O'Keefe was making long-term plans with Karen, including a family trip with her and the kids, and also another trip with Karen and another couple for months into the future. And you'll see video of how John and Karen were interacting on the night in question. You'll see for yourself how they looked at each other from the video at the waterfall that night. Nobody who saw them that night saw anything wrong. There was nothing wrong. I mean, like any couples, occasionally they would bicker or disagree.
Thank you. Yeah, I was hungry.
But you will hear zero evidence of any domestic violence in that home whatsoever. John never raised a hand in anger toward Karen, and Karen never raised a hand in anger toward John. That simply wasn't who they are. You will conclude the notion that Karen Reed chose to start a snowstorm to suddenly become violent out of the blue for the first time and intentionally kill her boyfriend by hitting him with a car and leaving him there with a house full of people inside is patently ridiculous. You will also learn that what's not ridiculous is that someone, not Karen Reed, ambushed John O'Keefe. Somebody probably didn't mean to kill him, but somebody went too far. You'll learn that Trooper Proctor failed to investigate motives that other people had to harm John O'Keefe. You'll learn that Proctor failed to investigate anything or anyone who was in the Albert residence that night. You'll learn that he failed to investigate the antagonistic relationship between members of the Albert family and John O'Keefe. You'll learn that apparently nobody investigates the Albert family of Canton. Remember, on day one, Trooper Proctor was asked whether the homeowner, Brian Albert, would catch a lot of grief. And Trooper Proctor himself said it. Nope. Homeowner's a Boston cop too. So folks, the trial is now about to start and the witnesses are about to start testifying. On behalf of Karen Reed, I ask that you do two things during this trial. First, I ask that you pay attention to all of the evidence. The way trials work, the prosecution gets to present its case first. They conduct their direct examinations first. So we respectfully ask that you wait for us. We will get to cross-examine their witnesses, and you will find that cross-examination is the touch that unlocks the truth. Wait for us.
Oh, there it is.
We'll be glad that you did. Second, I ask that you keep your eye on the ball. You have one job and one job only to do during this trial, and that job, quite frankly, is not to solve this case. Your only job during this trial is to determine whether the Commonwealth, the prosecution, has proven to you each and every element of the crimes they have charged, beyond a reasonable doubt, to a moral certainty.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Prosecution
Thank
will
you.
fail to prove this case to a moral certainty. They will fail to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. You will reasonably doubt their case because their theory of the case does not make sense. You will reasonably doubt their case because Karen Reed was framed, and the evidence shows that, despite the fact that the police never ever investigated that angle of this case at all. Because the prosecution will not prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt through a moral certainty, we will stand before you again at the end of this trial and ask that you find Karen Reed not guilty.
So good. Such a powerful opening. I love the opening. Karen Reed was framed. Boom. Okay. You have that. That's the intro. Then David Yannetti, what'd he do? 2 minutes, little intro, then introduced himself. Good morning, members of the court and the jury. I'm David Yannetti. Talked about the other attorneys at the table, and then finally walked everybody through the story, and then talked about what they're going to show through cross-examination, and then went back to the one thing that he used in his opening. He said the word framed again, which was fantastic. So it circled back around, and I love this team. I always say they circle, which is great. Alan Jackson's great at it. Kind of plays the circle until he gets what he wants and gets the truth to come out. But just, coming back and saying that, framed, leaving that in the jurors' minds before he wraps up and says, you will find Karen Reed not guilty. Fantastic. Excellent opening. Very, very extremely powerful moment for David Yannetti. I think that was really where he shined in this case. In this trial. Kat, thank you so much. Do you have your accept a membership setting to allow 1040 if all the stars align? Do I have your accept a membership setting to allow? A little bit confused on that one. All right, let's do this. I want to get to ba-da-dam. My first Alan Jackson moment, of course, Jennifer McCabe. 227, love it. We're going to play through this, and we'll watch Alan Jackson just smash Jennifer McCabe. Deanna, thank you so much for the 20. We'll be there in spirit. You are amazing. Even with the mistrial, I feel the Commonwealth will not retry Karen. What are your thoughts? I believe the domino effect will happen with all that harmed Karen. I stand with her. Yeah, I think it's just going to be way too much to go through that again. Way too much for the Commonwealth to go through that again. I mean, logistically, monetarily, and just having to go through all that and then realizing that new evidence can come in as well too. So don't think it's going to happen. All right, let's watch AJ slash Jen McCabe here and just make her look foolish.
January 29th, in the early morning hours, I want to take you all the way back to 1:30, 1:45 a.m.
Audrey, thank you so much. She says, Brian, you're a true gentleman. You have such respect for Karen and family also, and for the attorneys. You are the only channel I see with dollar figure amounts for Karen Reed attorney's fee. Thank you. Yeah, listen, that's just something that I wanted to do here on my channel. It doesn't make me any different than any other creators. They can do what they want on their channel. It's their platform. But I decided that, throughout this trial, until it ends, until Karen Reed walks out that door a free woman, that if we're in trial, I would make sure to kick back 25% of all my donations to her defense fund, because she needs it right now. I mean, even today there were just a post on the Justice Group, and I gave some money through Venmo. But you have to keep in mind, Karen needs to keep her attorneys fed through all this deliberations, and they were saying that the money had run out. So I made a quick donation. I think a lot of people did, and essentially what they said is if there was any money that was left over for food, they would just kick that into Karen Reed's defense fund. So I kicked a quick Venmo today, and I gave some money back, even though we've been doing this as well too. So anything can help. Anything helps. Any dollar, any penny helps in some way to get her closer to freedom. So, all right, let's. I think I had another chat come up. Jules, thank you. We'll make it $3 Canadian. Are you going to watch? Are you going to do interviews after the verdict? I'm hoping to at some point. I've expressed that to the Reed camp. I would love to sit down with Karen or any of the attorneys and have a conversation. I really don't know what's on their media agendas after. You got to think there's going to be a million people wanting to sit with them. So maybe, hopefully, I get that opportunity someday. I would want that, of course. But I don't know. I really don't know. But it is a dream of mine to do that. Kay, thank you so much for the $5 and becoming a new YouTube member. Nancy, thank you for becoming a new YouTube member. And we have Shannon, a new member as well. So that's $5, $10, $15. We'll add that to the total as well. And let's keep playing on. All right, here we go.
Yeah,
AJ.
when you left 34 Fairview on the 29th.
Welcome in. Hello.
After you dropped off the girls, where did you and Matt McCabe go?
We came home.
After you got home, you indicated that you went upstairs, correct?
Correct.
After you went upstairs, you indicated that you got on the phone.
Correct.
On your cell phone, correct? After you got on your cell phone, you indicated that you started searching for stuff.
Correct.
So if there's GPS, that you've seen the forensic extraction or part of it, correct?
Which one are you referring to?
Oh, I want to let everybody know. I have something lined up. I'm just hoping the timing of it still should be good. There was a video dropped today. Let's make sure I get the channel name correct. It was on the... Oh, where is it? Oh, nothing like lagging the show right now. I'm trying to look at something because I was doing a lot of research this morning. It wasn't yesterday. I saw it this morning. I might have to go. Hang on. Hang on 1 second. Nothing like slowing the show down. I don't want to get the channel name wrong, but I do know the gentleman's name because I've been speaking with him quite a bit. Let's see. It was on. Yes. There is a gentleman named Sergio that has a YouTube channel called Truth Revealed. I've reached out to him. I have a show planned with him. I just have to prep, and I'm going to do that tomorrow morning to send him some videos, and I will get him over here on the channel because I loved his Jennifer McCabe video. And I said, hey, can you do what you can do in a live setting? And he said, absolutely. So he said, just send me some videos over. We'll get it together. And I am going to have Sergio on my channel. I am dying to hear what he's got to say. And I can't wait for that live. So tomorrow morning, I'll get all that together for Sergio, and then we'll get a show together for you all. So it's going to be pretty cool. He responded to me very quick, and then he went to my channel and goes, oh my God, you have like amazing content. And I can see that you've done a lot of work on Karen Reed's case. And I told him, like, I just want to be transparent with you. I'm very pro Karen Reed. This is a pro Karen Reed channel. And he's like, no, it's perfect. And he has no qualms coming over here and doing what he does and show, his expertise, how he reads body language, how he can reveal deception. And I'm like, let's do it, man. Let's do it. So awesome stuff. Can't wait for that. And that should be happening hopefully in the next couple of days. And even pending the verdict. I mean, even if we get a verdict, I still think it's a great show of context to show the fucking lies and deception of all these people that have been involved. And so we'll go through that. I think it's going to be a great show. All right, let's keep playing.
The forensic extraction of your phone.
I saw what you showed me yesterday from Celebrate.
Super
That's what I mean.
on point.
Okay.
Part of it.
I saw, the phone calls. Yes.
Can't wait to have
You're
George on.
aware that extraction shows that you got home after 2 a.m. or so. So that would be generally correct.
Correct.
The Celebrite extraction shows from your Apple Health data that you actually went up a set of stairs. That would be accurate, correct?
Accurate.
The Celebrite data shows that you actually logged into your phone, did a login, either Face ID or a passcode, opened up the phone. That would be accurate.
Correct.
The Celebrite data shows that you were engaging with an app called Safari to engage some Google searches, correct?
Yes.
That would be generally accurate as well, correct?
Yes.
So
Real quick, Love a Little says, me and Ben, my son, has a colostomy, want Proctor fired soon, and we keep fighting for Karen when it comes to Proctor trying to humiliate her and her medical condition. It offends my son. Thank you for all that you do here. Well, thank you for talking about that, and thank you for being brave and putting that out there. I hope that your son can live a very long and healthy life with his condition. I'm sure it's not anything fun. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being here and fighting for Karen. We really do appreciate it. And 25% of that $20 will get kicked back to Karen. All right, let's go.
after you opened up Safari, you indicated that you Google searched something about ozone basketball. Is that right?
Yes.
That was sometime after 2 a.m.
Young man, right? The special
Right.
moment of Karen.
Yes.
What was so important about ozone basketball at
this.
2 a.m. that it couldn't
I
wait
love that.
until the morning? Why did you search
I love that. Like, what is so fucking important about basketball at 2 a.m, Jen? Come on, look at her eyes.
it then?
Well, first I was home, I was wide awake, and I had been texting about a basketball chat, and basketball was clearly on my mind. My daughter had been invited to join a team. I didn't know much about the team, so I just
So
was
it's 2
like
in the morning.
Googling to see, because
Right.
the woman who had given my daughter the offer had wanted an answer.
So you say that basketball was on your mind, correct?
Yes.
Was there anything else on your mind in that early morning hour time frame?
Don't believe so.
Ms. McCabe, if you wanted to know,
About Hoslong to die in cold, Jen. JC the Music Man, $10, says, I love your work. I love how so many came together in support of Karen. I made a hard-hitting song compilation and would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to use Karen Reed was framed by JC the Music Man. So yeah, man, send me the link. Just email it to me and I'll send you my email. And you can just email it. I'll take a look at it. Maybe we can play it here on the channel. But that's my email there. It'll drop. You can hit that, just copy and paste it and get it over to me. And someone was asking if I do have Cash App. I do. You can hit the Cash App or just hit the link at the top of the chat. It's my LTL media link, and that gives you to all my affiliated things that you can donate through. Okay, let's keep playing through here.
in general, how long it takes for a human being to pass away because of exposure to extreme temperatures, right? If you wanted to know the answer to that,
Stacy, thanks for the
what would you
$10
Google
super
search?
sticker.
What phrase would you use?
I'm not sure. All I recall is what the defendant asked me to Google in the morning.
If you wanted to know, I'm asking a different question.
Mhm.
If you personally wanted to know, how long does it take for a person to die of exposure due to extreme temperatures, what would you put in? What phrase would you use?
Objection.
Sustain.
He wants her to say it. And I love
Well,
it.
we don't have to
I'll
guess
help you.
at the phrase that you would use if you wanted to know something about dying of hypothermia, do we? Because you actually Google searched it.
Objection.
Sustained, ask that differently, please.
Did you, in fact, use a phrase to Google search how long it takes for someone to die of extreme temperatures?
I did in the morning at the request of your client.
All right. Did she say
And what
fucking
phrase did you
harder?
use?
I forget.
I'm not sure.
Really?
Correct. I was
2.5 years of this, you don't know the phrase that you used?
I love it. Really? Like, seriously, come on. It's like, come on, bro. Let's go back and hear that again. AJ, really? Come on, bro.
Use a phrase to Google search
Because you know she said it.
how long
You know
it takes for someone
she
to
knows she
die of
Googled it.
extreme
That's why.
temperatures.
I did in the morning at the request of your client.
Okay? And what phrase did you use?
I'm not sure.
Really?
Correct.
I love it.
Was
2.5 years of this, you don't know the phrase that you used?
Oh, I love
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
there's so many lies
Okay,
and
there's no
misconceptions
question.
on social media.
No question.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay.
Are you telling me you don't remember what Google search you put in?
Karen was screaming. My hands were shaking. And she was saying, Google hypothermia. How long does it take to die in the cold?
And what phrase did you put in your
Say
phone?
it.
I'm just asking you to say it.
Say it.
Why don't you show me it?
You literally don't remember?
No, I love
Again, she was screaming, Google hypothermia. How long does it take to die in the cold?
How about,
And I picked up my phone and I started Googling.
and you literally to this day,
Crazy
right
guys.
now, under oath, you're saying you don't remember that phrase that you used.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that at her
Do you remember it or do you not, Ms.
Okay.
McCabe?
Oh,
That's
I
a
love
simple
it.
question.
that morning, I don't remember specifically what I Googled, but I do know what you've put out to the social media.
How about this? Hoss long to die in cold.
How about
Does that
that?
sound familiar?
Yeah, it's been
Why
everywhere
does that sound so familiar?
because you've put it out in social media.
Well, I haven't put anything out in social media
Love
because
that.
I don't personally have social media.
I'm sorry, Turtle Boy did.
So if the world happens to know it,
Mhm.
that's not on me, is it?
I guess not.
I guess not. Hoss
Actually, that was in a blurb in a news story before it actually, but that was the search that caught Turtle Boy's attention when he heard it on that news, and that's where it just flooded. That's where it flooded. That's where he picked it up and just went with it. And thank God he did. This case would be a lot different. This case would be a lot different. So thank you, TB. Thank you for your hard work. You deserve everything you get.
long to die in cold is what you put in to the Google search, right?
If you say so.
Is there a reason that you don't want to admit to that?
Absolutely not.
It's a simple question,
Hmm.
right?
No reason.
So say it. What Google search did you use?
Objection.
Sustained.
She knows who she searched.
You were seeking
She
at
knows
some
what she
point
searched.
to Google how long to die in the cold, correct?
Correct.
And you made a mistake and mistakenly typed Hoss long to die in cold, correct?
If you could show me it, I'd appreciate it.
You later Google searched. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now he's pissed. He's like, I'm going to show you now. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Did she say shock and horror during this segment? I forget. We were in shock and horror. I think she did.
While she looks at that, Mr. Jackson, can we bring our clerk back upstairs?
Of course, yes.
Can I go
I think
forward
we're.
here?
Yes.
Can I have that back for a second?
Yes.
Here we go.
Did you see this, the actual search phrase? Is
Yes.
that now with your recollection?
Yes.
But I'd like to have this marked as
Shock and horror.
exhibit, please.
Is there an objection, Mr. Lally?
I remember when I had Natalie Lawyer chick on and we went over this. Shock and horror. And Natalie goes, the horror.
Yes. Yeah.
She was great. Real fun to have on.
May I?
Yes.
A great channel.
What is that, Madam Court Reporter? I'm sorry.
Shock and horror.
Thank you.
Move to publish this, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't either, Mary. It's so obvious.
Does this appear to be the document that was just marked as exhibit 99?
Yes.
I know it's a little bit small, Mr. Jason. I know that. You see this column?
Yes.
This is
Third
like,
column from the, actually, it's the fourth
this
column.
is fucking amazing. He's literally going to show her the Google searches and she's going to sit here and deny it. She said, and it's like literally black and white. I mean, it's data. It's there. and he goes, she goes, yep, these three, but this one doesn't count. The 227, no, that didn't happen. Like, are you serious?
From the left, some dates, some data, and then a Google search, correct?
Correct.
Kathy, thank you for
What does
the
that Google
$10
search
on
say?
demo. I appreciate it.
House long to die in cold.
Now,
awesome.
you indicate that you did that, you made that search at 6:23 a.m., correct?
Correct.
And then you indicated that you did it again
I saw her come out of court the other day.
thereafter at
I was like,
6:24, correct?
Court reporter.
Correct.
At 6:24, you misspelled the phrase and you spelled it as follows: how long TI die in CIKD, correct?
Correct.
Now you claim that those two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m. respectively, correct?
Objection.
Phrase it differently.
Sure. You've indicated under direct examination that these two searches were at 6:23 and 6:24 a.m., right?
I don't know if I gave exact times, but I said it was in the morning and Karen had asked me to do it.
And you claimed that you searched it because Karen was screaming at you and yelling at you, Google hypothermia, and you Googled how long does it take for a person to die? I'm sorry, she said something like, how long does it take for a person to die of hypothermia? And you Google searched it at 6:23 and 6:24. Is that right?
Again, I'm not sure about the exact times. I just did it after Karen asked me to do it.
Would you quarrel with the idea that those were about 30 seconds apart?
Okay.
And you're aware, Ms. McCabe, that both spellings, both misspellings of that phrase result in the exact same search results, don't they?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Well, you Googled them, ma'am.
I love
You're looking
that.
on your phone and you Googled it. How long to die in cold and how long to die in CIKD.
You know,
Both
here's
of
the
those.
thing.
You Googled
No,
it, right?
I just get this message. You know, I think people, you know, listen, I'm tired of like what people take and they twist what I say. And you know, like I just get this message and you're so wrong in what you're saying, okay? I didn't tell newbies to not go down and support Karen. So get that out of your fucking head, okay? Because I'm tired of people twisting what I say and making a fucking lie out of it, okay? So I'm going to tell you right now, I did not say that. And don't say that you're not going to drive up there because you're saying that I'm being unwelcoming, okay? That's not the case. The case is this, okay? There has been core people that have been down there since day one. And yes, this case has brought in a lot of new people that have the opportunity to go down there now. We welcome everybody to be down there. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we follow the rules so we don't all get kicked out. Like yesterday, a million times we had to turn to people and say, don't go on the church grass. Don't go on the church grass. Don't go on the church grass. Pick up your trash. Don't leave your bottles behind. I was literally picking up bottles that people were just leaving behind. Don't, you know, and that's why they literally had to make the new line and bring Karen in to the back of the courthouse because there's so many people thinking that they can just see Karen and start running over to her. You can't do that. You can't touch her. You cannot go over and do that. They don't know who you are. You could be a crazy person. You could have a weapon and try to hurt her, you know, or a counter protester that's going to jump in her face. So please don't sit here and play this thing that it's my fault that I said on my live that I'm telling people not to go down there. That's further from the truth, and it's ridiculous, okay? We welcome everybody to be down there. We want everybody to be down there, but we want people to follow the rules. Paul Cristoforo the other day got up on the megaphone and literally repeated everything that I said, because the reason is the core people that have been down there have a more sense of control in the situation. We want to keep it controlled. We don't want people to go down there and overrun everybody and shit just like what happened yesterday with all the counter protesters that showed up to fucking ruin everything. That happens, and all of a sudden, people just start running over to see what's happening. People are getting hurt. People are getting, pushed out of the way and all that. We don't want any of that. We don't want it to get ruined. We want to be there and be through this entire trial and this verdict, to be there. We've all worked too hard to let people come in and ruin it for everybody. That's all I was saying. But don't sit here and poo-poo everything. Oh, what you said, it makes me feel unwelcome. That's, listen, if you took it in that way, that's ridiculous. I would never tell anybody to not go down there. So don't tell me that you're going to feel unwelcomed because your 20-minute drive before you get there, you're going to feel unwelcome. It's further from the truth, and it's ridiculous. So get over yourself first, okay? I did not say that, and if you think that you took it in that context, that's further from the truth. We want more people to come down there and support Karen, but we want people to follow the rules that are down there. And you know what? It was getting out of hand yesterday. A million times we had to say, get off the grass. Don't be on the church grass. Literally the guy that runs the church was coming out and flipping out because people were walking the grass. He doesn't want it. That's why they roped off that area. And has it been a little bit more under control? Yes. And we appreciate that. But we don't want to get kicked out of the area. We deserve to be there. We deserve to hear this verdict. We deserve to be there with Karen. That's it. That's the end of it. Stop sending me these poo-poo messages like, oh, woe is me. Listen, you want to come down? Come down. You're welcome. But don't say that it's my fault that you feel that you shouldn't be there. That's ridiculous. It's further from the truth. Get over yourself. Anyway, let's get back to the live.
Right?
I did, yes.
And they result.
Oh, you made me feel this way. Be a little bit stronger.
Search results.
Go down there and hang out. It's a
I
very
have no
welcoming
idea.
environment.
So my question to you is, why the two searches?
She was standing next to me, screaming, shaking my hand. My hand was cold. I was trying to Google it. Obviously, maybe whatever came up first didn't make sense because I had some misspellings. So I did it again.
You're going to do this now? So we're at the end of the trial. We're almost at a verdict. Now you're going to come out and go, oh, it's your fault that I didn't go. That's ridiculous. Go down there. You're a free person. You can be there. No one's kicking you out. Go down. Hang out. Celebrate. Whatever you need to do. When we get this verdict and it's not guilty, celebrate with everybody else. You're welcome to be there. All we want is the rules to be followed. Pick up your trash. Be kind. Be nice. Don't push anybody. Don't interact with these stupid counter protesters. It's dumb. That's all they want. Don't run. Don't push anybody. Be courteous. That's it. Don't walk on the grass. That's a big one. They don't like that. Anyway, holy smokes.
To die in cold.
Oh, I can't.
Results in articles concerning dying of exposure. Doesn't it?
We never got the chance to read it.
$9.99 super.
Well, you're the one, when you say me, who's we?
Karen and myself.
Well, you're the one holding the phone, Mr. McCabe.
Correct.
So you're looking down at your phone and you see exactly what comes up, correct?
I don't remember exactly what came up.
Well, what came up was something about dying of hypothermia, didn't it?
That's what she asked.
So why do it again?
Right.
Why do it again, Miss McCabe? You had the result. Why the second search?
I cannot answer that beyond telling you that my hands were frozen. She was shaking me and screaming at me.
And you see...
Look at Nick. I love Nick's expression there. I got to back that up a little bit. Watch Nick.
Beyond telling you that my hands were frozen. She was shaking me and screaming at me.
He just shakes his head like.
And you see the time. Let me scroll up, please. According to the Celebrate data.
I mean, you got to look at it. There are people, and I'm kind of off on this right now. There are people that stay almost an hour to 2 hours later, after all the whole crowd piles out of there, to literally pick up trash, to make sure the area is clean, because people just leave all their shit behind. They don't care. And there's people that stay and pick up the trash to make sure that area is clean, so we don't get kicked out of that area. We're allowed to be there. We're allowed to be there. And that's all we ask. Go down, be respectful, be kind, stay off the grass, and don't try to run and touch Karen. That's the worst thing you can do. And we'll get through this. We'll get through this process together. Oh my God.
You see this first search that says Hostlong to die in cold?
Go off
I
this
do.
long line. I'm going to watch these creators now. Watch
What's
you
that
no
time?
more. It's fine. Watch who you want to watch. Holy fuck.
You've got the, it's right over at 2:27.
AM or PM?
Stay off the grass.
Ms. McCabe, you made that search at 2:27 a.m. because you knew that John O'Keefe was outside in your sister's lawn dying in the cold, didn't you?
Absolutely not. I did not make that search at that time. No.
Realized the next morning, after John was discovered, after 6 a.m., that you had an incriminating search on your phone, didn't you?
Absolutely not.
To cover your tracks,
Catherine, thanks for the
you
10
searched it
on
again
Cash
in
App.
order to overwrite the original search at 2:27, correct?
Again, absolutely not.
But you were nervous and you screwed it up. So the first search you made at 6:23 was Hostlong to die in CIKD, wasn't it?
No.
When you see
The
the
bathrooms
search,
at the Deeds building. They're
Right
open
there.
to the public. Across
Correct.
the street from the
I
courthouse.
see the search, but I disagree with your narrative.
and what's the time frame of that search?
6:23.
And you agree that that time frame is accurate, right?
Again, it's what the report says.
And that comports with your memory of that morning, about 6:23 in the morning in 51 seconds.
Correct.
There's a second search, correct?
Correct.
And this one, at 6:24, it says Hostlong to die in cold. 6:24:16, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, 18. I was up that great. And that comports with your memory as well.
I remember Googling it at the request of the defendant. Yes.
About
So
27
rehearsed.
seconds apart, correct?
Yes.
But the reality is, your first search didn't comport with the 2:27 a.m. search, did it? It was a different spelling, wasn't it?
Excuse me.
I never searched a 2:27. That is not reality.
But the 6:24 search did exactly mirror the search that, according to this report, took place at 2:27, correct?
I'm sure Celebrite will be able to explain it to you. I can't.
And then of those three searches, one of them ended up deleted.
I like how he
Right.
just ignores her, just keeps talking.
I never deleted any search.
It literally says deleted on the paper.
Take a
It
look.
literally says it on the
The
cell, right?
Celebrite report, top search,
It says deleted.
and the column marked deleted.
Oh, God. It
do you
literally
see?
says deleted. Yes.
I see a yes.
You take this down.
It literally says deleted.
Ms. McCabe, the reason you deleted that 2:27 a.m. call is because you realized that if you were caught Googling how long it takes for a person to die in the cold 3.5 hours before John's body was found, that would incriminate you.
Bang.
Objection.
The objection sustained.
Did you delete that search because you knew that you would be implicated in John O'Keefe's death if that search was found on your phone?
Objection.
I'll let you. Could you answer that, please?
I did not delete that search. I never made that search at 2:23. I never would have left John O'Keefe out in the cold to die because he was my friend that I loved.
But he's not
Your
your
friend that she has that like Arlene Warnos thing to her when she does that, and that face is like that Arlene face. But if he was your friend, then why, when you called 911, would you not say, my friend Officer John O'Keefe is down, send people immediately, send help immediately? You just said a man is down in the snow. Okay. Your friend that you love. Okay.
family, is he?
Family and friends.
Is he not
Objection.
Sustained.
You acknowledge that you made the search at 6:23, don't you?
In the morning I did, yes.
You acknowledge that you made the search at 6:24.
Multiple times in the morning, yes.
Of the three searches that show up that were all found on your phone, The one that you disavow is the one that took place at 2:27 a.m., which would
Cindy, thanks for the
implicate you
20. Just thank you for all that you
exonerate
do.
my
Thank
client,
you.
correct?
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Cindy.
Can I ask it differently, Mr. Jackson?
Add 20.
Of those 3 searches,
Thank you.
there was only one marked deleted. Isn't that right?
Correct.
That was the
Yeah,
one at
right, Amber.
2:27 a.m.,
Loved.
correct?
I wouldn't even know how to go in and delete a
That's not what I
search.
asked you. The one according to the Celebrate report that was deleted, the one at 2:27 a.m., correct?
Correct.
You would agree that that's awfully convenient for you, isn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
That's it.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Love it. All right. Good stuff. Let's watch. I don't think we're going to get to all of it, but let's watch another great Alan Jackson moment. One of my favorites, I think, in the whole trial is Alan Jackson taking down Trooper Paul. And then we have Elizabeth Little moment. I was going to do the closing argument, but I'm not going to do another full hour. Maybe I do a part 2 to this tomorrow night, depending if we get actually, no, tomorrow is Sunday. So tomorrow I'll probably do a part 2 to this and pick out some other key pivotal moments that I thought were great. And we can kind of continue this into Monday and get to court. So let's watch Alan Jackson take down Trooper Paul, and then we'll play a brilliant moment from Elizabeth Little when she not crossed on direct. Was it cross? Might have been cross. Oh, she crossed the medical examiner, right? Yes, crossed the medical examiner. All right, here we go. I love this. This is probably my favorite one. Trooper Paul.
Ignition cycle necessarily
So
includes the precursor key cycle, correct? Even though every key cycle
Such a great.
might not
I love
include
this.
an ignition cycle. Would you agree with that?
In that scenario, yes.
Fine. Okay, with that definition, I want to talk about ignition cycles because I don't want to get confused about accessories. What? Just assume the engine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
If you started your testing at 1164,
Yes, the crime scene whisperer.
then if the engine was turned on, thereby indicating initiating a key cycle, driving the car onto a flatbed truck, and then hauling it over to Canton PD,
Yes,
that would be key cycle
pirouettes.
1163. Not
I love the
hypothetical,
pirouette.
correct?
It could be.
Okay. Then going backward from there, if the SUV.
Does anybody know who the gentleman is with the long hair that's sitting on Karen's side? I saw him come in, I think, a couple of times, and I'm just always curious to see friends or family. Does anybody know who that is?
I'm sorry. Let me add one event that I just forgot. It had to get off the tow truck in Canton and be driven
okay.
into the South Pole. Did you ever
Oh,
see
I
that
didn't
video?
know that. That's awesome.
No.
Being driven in.
No.
If there was a video showing that the car was actually
Thank
driven
you for
into the
sharing that.
South
I didn't
Pole,
know that.
that would
Thank you.
necessarily be a key cycle, correct?
Possibly.
Okay, so that
You
would
are
be
all
key
so
cycle
fast.
1160.
You catch everything.
My mistake. I was missing one, right?
I love
Okay.
it.
Before that, if the car was turned on and driven onto the flatbed to get to Canton,
Good stuff.
that would be key cycle 1162 in order, correct? We're going back,
It's possible.
all right? Before that, if the car was started and
Love
the
this.
car was driven from One Meadows Avenue to Karen Reed's parents' home in Dighton, that would be another key cycle, 1161,
Hey,
correct?
what's up, Jody? How
They're
are
possible.
Before that, if the SUV was
Excuse
started
me.
and driven by Miss Reed from the garage at John O'Keefe's house to Jennifer McCabe's house at 5:07 in the morning, that would be another key cycle, correct? 1160. Is that right?
It's possible.
And before that, if the SUV was started and driven by Miss Reed to the waterfall, from the waterfall to 34 Fairview at approximately 12:15 a.m., that would be another key cycle,
Thank you, Amber.
1159, right?
It's possible.
I want to be clear. The reason that these numbers skip in your diagram, they don't go directly in order, right? Every single number is in order on this left-hand column, because this is only a diagram of when triggering events occur, right?
Yes.
Something unusual about the operation of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And it's clear that from the data, there was no triggering event at key cycle 1159, was there?
No.
Little smile from Karen
So
there.
assuming the driving events that I just told you, right? Assuming for purposes of my question, that the driving events started at 11:59, driving over to 34 Fairview from the waterfall. Then driving at 5:07 in the morning over to Jim McCabe's house, 11:60. Then driving to Dayton, her parents' house, 11:61. Then the car being seized in Dayton.
I'm just gonna I want to speak. Not that I want to be respectful to Alan Jackson, but I want to get to when he asked him to because I think the pivotal moment in this is when he asked him to recreate. Take me through the how did you recreate this? So we know about the key cycles. Let's see.
They go a certain amount of distance, and it's based on miles per hour, the speed of the vehicle, striking the vehicle, and stuff. Remember saying that?
And stuff.
Yes.
What did you mean by stuff?
I don't know.
What?
You said that the calculations would be based on miles per hour and stuff.
This is a good one. Yeah, I would say this. I think Jen McCabe 227 is probably top. That's up there. That's really the catalyst for all of this. But aside from Proctor, this is most important. I think this is the worst fucking witness for the Commonwealth. This is the guy that they threw up there. I'm telling you, the Commonwealth needed a guy like this. They couldn't get an expert that was going to go up and lie. They weren't going to get someone that knows actual physics like ARCA to get up there and lie, because they're scientists. They literally would turn around and go, Commonwealth, what you're trying to do here wouldn't make sense. And that was definitely proven by the ARCA guys. But this is the lackey that they needed to get up there. And I'm telling you, when you found out they had a meeting, what was it, like a week or two before this testimony, they fucking went in that room. Lally was there. Proctor was there. I think you said Bukaki was there, or it might have been Tully. And they all said, listen, this is the way that it's going to be, and this is how you're going to say it, because we need you to do it. This was their expert.
Did you ever do any stuff to test that?
I love this.
Question.
No, we cannot calculate anything from this
They threw him
collision
out there under the
Say that
bus.
one more time.
We cannot calculate anything from this collision.
Who's
But,
we?
but shame on him for folding and doing it, to protect all those scumbags behind all of this. And they probably threatened him.
Sorry, me, the role me.
Well, John O'Keefe's weight, right?
What's that?
John O'Keefe's weight, 217 pounds, right?
Yes.
Did you know that?
I don't know his weight, no.
The weight of the vehicle?
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you, Blondie. I appreciate it. How are you, by the way? How's your channel?
What's the gross weight?
Yeah.
I think it's approximately 7,300 pounds.
Were you able to calculate the mass of the vehicle?
I did not calculate the mass of the vehicle.
Well, you told the grand jury that you were planning on doing that kind of stuff to calculate how far a person would travel being struck at that speed with a car of that weight. You didn't do those calculations?
Sir.
No, because the calculations would vastly underestimate the speed of the vehicle.
You testified, again, my report isn't done yet. I'm going to look into it. I'm looking into all that stuff, end quote, correct?
Yes.
There's that word again.
It's that word again.
It's been more than 2 years since that statement at the grand jury. Is your report finished?
Yes, it is.
Did you engage in any of those calculations?
I looked into it. This type of collision I would not be able to use the formulas for this type of collision.
Well, let's talk about those formulas. How would you calculate how far a body at rest would travel after being struck by an object in motion? How would you calculate that?
In pedestrian collisions, I use the Searle throw formula.
A what formula?
Searle.
What does that mean?
It's a type of formula that we'd use for a calculation of post-impact
So
speeds for pedestrians.
that includes certain principles of physics to calculate that, right?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry?
What do you mean by certain forms of physics?
There would be physics calculations that would be required to figure out how far a body at rest would move, having been struck by an object in
I
motion.
love how like Alan Jackson's actually educating him here. He's like schooling him right now. Alan Jackson, that's not a physics expert, is literally schooling the physics expert. I absolutely love it. And look at his body language. He's like, oh, fuck, I'm getting schooled here.
Right.
That's a basic principle. Of
Yeah, I guess you could say though.
All right. Can you describe for the jurors exactly what calculations you would need to employ to determine how far a body at rest would travel, having been struck by an object in motion?
PMD, thank you. This is also new sub here. Thanks for the time and attention each question. Much appreciated. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. And thanks for hanging out. I mean, listen, if you're new and you heard my rant, I normally don't rant like that. It takes me a lot to get going, but when I get going, it's kind of like, all right, buddy, you got to reel it back in. I just listen, I don't like bullshit. I don't like when people make shit up and then they're going to play this thing like, oh, well, you're making me. I'm not making you do anything. I don't make anybody do anything in life. That's on your own accord. If you are a free-willed person to do whatever you want in life. If you want to go somewhere, you want to say something, whatever, do it and say it. I don't care. I'm not holding anybody back. Do your thing. All right, let's keep playing this.
So in this scenario, in this collision, it's more of a side swipe. So he did not ascertain.
Here it comes. Can you
He did not
reenact it?
get enough speed of the vehicle post impact with the vehicle to be able calculations.
Okay.
His center of mass was offset from the vehicle. So we would vastly underestimate his speed. So that's why I did not do a formula. If he was more in line with behind the vehicle, he would have been projected forward, and using that projection forward, he would have been able to get more closer to the actual speed of the vehicle during that post-impact travels.
I literally just want to go over. I just wish Alan Jackson just walked over and put his hand over his mouth and went, just hushed him. Like, stop. Like, just stop. Wouldn't that be funny?
Well, that presumes a couple of things, Paul. That presumes that he was quote unquote satisfied, right? Presumed by you. You didn't see how he was hit, did you?
Based on the evidence, it appeared to be a side swipe.
That's your opinion.
Zip it. Zip.
That's disagreeing the evidence.
You're saying that the principles of physics as we know them today in modern mathematics is thwarted by a side swipe?
Objection.
Is that what you're saying?
It's the calculations that are out there. You can get a speed, it'll just underestimate the speed.
You would have to know what the initial momentum of the object is that's in motion, correct?
Of what object?
Truck. Paul.
I would have to know that speed.
Yeah, you have to know
my
what the
God.
initial momentum is, not speed, momentum. There's a
This
difference,
almost hurts.
Okay.
right? Would you agree with that?
No.
You wouldn't have to calculate what the initial momentum is of the object in motion to determine the distance of the body at rest would move?
Scott.
Well, in that sense, are we talking about trying to find the speed of the vehicle? That's usually what we're trying to do.
Right, okay. Well, let's put the speed of the vehicle aside. Let's talk about initial momentum. What's the formula for calculating initial momentum?
There's different types of momentum formulas.
Well, there's actually one type of momentum formula. It's to calculate momentum.
Objection.
Sustained.
To calculate momentum, there is a single.
So sustained. Ask it differently.
Isn't it true, Trooper Paul, that there is a singular calculation for determining initial momentum? That is P equals M times V, where P
Schooling him right now.
is the momentum. You're solving for that. M is mass. You multiply that by velocity.
Excuse me. Oh,
Is that right?
this
It's
is
simple.
great, right? I love this.
You wouldn't use that in a pedestrian collision.
Oh, because the pedestrian's somehow magically out of the realm of physics?
Objection.
Sustained.
Is the pedestrian out of the realm of physics and calculations?
No, it's the weight differential between the pedestrian and the vehicle.
So if the vehicle is too heavy and the body is too light, you can't calculate the initial momentum of the vehicle?
Yes,
He's genuinely trying
Where'd
to
you
learn
learn
from
that?
AJ.
it's in my math class. We don't use momentum for vehicle to vehicle.
Math class?
The crash reconstruction classes I have taken.
Got it. Would you need to apply the theory of conservation
Yes,
of momentum
formulas and stuff.
in
Formula
calculating
stuff.
these data?
Do I need to calculate the conservation of momentum?
Oh my
Or
God.
calculation- sorry, conservation of momentum.
Yes,
You know what that is? There's an equation for that as well, right?
yes.
You know what that is?
Not off the top of my head, but yes.
Thank you, Miss Cakes. I appreciate that.
Based on the basic principles
Math
of physics,
class, yes.
is the total momentum of the collision greater or less than the total momentum after the collision? Total momentum before the collision, is it greater or less?
He literally looks like a 5-year-old being scolded for eating like too many cookies, you know? He's like all like bury his head's going inside his body right now. It's going inside his neck.
And the total momentum after the collision? Basic question.
What type of collision?
Mr. Paul, they're exactly equal in all respects under the principles of physics, right? That's the theory of the conservation of momentum. Momentum doesn't
school.
change. It's
Yes.
transferred from one body to another,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
Why didn't you say that to the jurors?
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Paul, if you were qualified to quote, look into all this stuff, you would probably know these answers, wouldn't you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh, the
Are there any other
pirouette coming up.
calculations that you need to figure out the stuff that you were talking to about with the grand jury?
Objection.
Sustained.
How about calculating the final velocity of the objects after the collision? Would that be important?
What objects?
That would be John O'Keefe's body, sir. Object
I don't.
that you claim was flying through the
Oh
air.
my
30
God.
feet.
Okay,
Objection.
sustained.
How about calculating the displacement using kinematic equations? Would you be able to do that?
The displacement of the body.
In order to calculate how far the body would move based on the mass of the
I love it
object
too.
striking the body. Could you use displacement using kinematic equations?
So, like I said before, the side swipe, he would not have gotten 100% of the vehicle, 100% of the speed of the striking vehicle. It would have vastly underestimated this vehicle. You couldn't hit a person and side swipe them, spin them off to the side, and have that and get a speed from those calculations.
So you're saying that the discipline of physics cannot figure out how far John O'Keefe's body would move, but you personally figured out that he would have flown now somewhat, or been projected somewhat 30 feet.
Yeah, Jess, thank you.
Sustained.
Are you saying that the principles of physics are incapable
Thank you.
of determining with the proper calculations how far John O'Keefe's body would have moved given the collision at issue?
Objection.
So great.
Is that what you're saying, Trooper?
No.
He doesn't even know what he's
Famous
saying.
question?
No, we had to ask it in a
You
question
just
form.
said because
No.
it was a side swipe, all these calculations, these physics calculations
Stop.
are inapplicable, right?
I'm saying it would underestimate the speed and the distance.
The truth is, Trooper Paul, you have no idea what all these physics calculations mean, do you?
Objection.
Sustained.
You've not been trained in physics formally, have you?
Yes,
You have been,
it's
That's
incorporated
theory.
into the classes.
right? You had a few classes that use the word physics, but you haven't been formally trained in physics, have
Objection.
Sustained.
you? You haven't been formally trained in kinematics, correct?
It's in the aspects of all our crash reconstruction classes.
You haven't been formally trained and hold no degrees in biomechanics, do you?
I do not have a degree in biomechanics.
In fact, basically what you did in this case was calculated emission cycles. And you got those wrong, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson, ask the appropriate part of the question, you'll get it.
The answer is not in that water
Based
bottle.
on your reconstruction, nearly 2-year investigation, exactly how was that taillight shattered? Explain it to us.
How does the taillight, what do you, it gets, so the taillight in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm.
Exactly what part of his arm?
Based on what I
love
saw
it.
for his injuries was from the upper part of his arm down.
Here it comes.
Was his arm out? It just struck the arm like a hinge? Was it in front of him? You did the reconstruction?
It looked,
Here's exactly how his body was positioned.
Oh, here we
when he was
go.
Struck by that.
so it looks like his arm was more kind of like this. If I can try to get that.
You're indicating out by his side, correct?
Yes.
And the taillight would have struck his arm, right?
Yes.
Not his torso.
Yes.
Okay. So the full mass, the full weight of that truck hit him basically at the elbow. Is that right?
No,
Missing his
no.
torso.
I said it, yeah, from upper part of the arm
Right,
down.
that
Yeah.
elbow and the
That's
biceps.
I didn't
what he's
see.
trying to do is explain the. He's trying to explain the scratches on his arm, but like the ARCA guy said, if he was hitting the shoulder, why was the scratches all the way down 6 inches down his arm from his shoulder? It doesn't make any sense.
I think that shows an indication that this lower torso was struck, but
Okay. So his,
No.
torso,
it's not saying it could not have been a possibility, but I just didn't see anything.
so his torso was spared from being hit, but the arm took the brunt, the full force of the vehicle, correct?
Like arm and shoulder, yes.
Okay.
And
we
you
got
said he then did a spin,
Oh.
like a sort of a pirouette.
He got spun around possibly the way it struck, it looked like it could have turned around counterclockwise.
Okay. So if he turns around counterclockwise,
Here we go.
is he turning around in the air counterclockwise?
Here it comes.
Yes, initially.
So he gets hit on the upper biceps,
So
shoulder
good.
area, and down to the forearm
I love this.
Yes,
by an unbroken taillight, right?
yes.
In other words, it's nice and smooth. No shards of plastic or anything broken at the time that it made contact with his arm, right?
Correct.
Oh, I love
So
this.
how did his arm get all cut up?
Yeah.
Because when his arm struck the
Look at Jackson
taillight
laughing a little bit.
then cracked. And as the car is driving past him, the taillight could scratch it.
Oh.
Got it. So he gets hit by the car, not his torso, just the arm. The taillight cracks, and as it passes by, his arm stays with it long enough to get striations, those scratches that you see, those lacerations. I'm sorry, those abrasions that you see, right?
In a sense, yes.
And at the same time, he does a pirouette and flies 30 feet to his final point of rest.
I don't know if he did a pirouette.
Well, I'm using the word pirouette. He spun around.
He started rotating counterclockwise. I don't know how far he ran counterclockwise, but he started rotating. According to that, would push him to rotate counterclockwise. Whether or not he went counterclockwise all the way to his back
good.
toward the ground,
Charlie, thank you so much for the
it
gift.
seems like a most likely possibility.
I love that.
Did you account for the fact that his arm is on a hinge?
Is what? Say again?
Did you account for the fact in this scenario that you just told the
That's
jury
a
that his
hinge.
arm is on a hinge?
On a
Called the
hinge.
shoulder?
Okay.
Okay,
This is a
so
hinge.
Arm got hit. Didn't his arm just swing?
I said arm and shoulder area, so his arm could have been considered part of it.
Even if his shoulder got the upper,
Okay.
you're pointing to his upper biceps.
Mhm.
Right? There's no injuries on his shoulder, not a single one, not even a bruise, right?
Like I said, it looked like to me it was from up here. I don't know how far I can up back here, but it was up here.
Well,
So
you're the one that talked about his injuries on his arm.
yes.
That's limited to about mid biceps, to about mid forearm, correct?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
No injuries on the shoulder, no injuries on the torso, no injuries on the ribs, no injuries on the back, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
So your theory is He got hit on the arm, took the brunt of the force from the taillight on the arm, stayed with the
I love how he does it
vehicle
again.
long enough the taillight to explode, basically, to shatter. Then these striations get on his arm, abrasions.
This is so
Does
ridiculous.
a pirouette, spin, counterclockwise,
Spin.
flies 30 feet in the air to his point of rest.
It's so preposterous.
Yeah,
is
I
my
have
word.
probably a little faster than that though.
He's like, got it.
I thought you said he hit his head on the curb.
I said that's one of the possibilities of when you look at the roadway as he gets spun around kind of clockwise. It's a possibility that the curb is there.
Oh god.
Any blunt force object on the ground
So
has
painful.
the ground is pretty blunt.
Well, except in your scenario that you just told us, you flew through the air onto the light dusting of snow, grass, and dirt.
I didn't say through the air.
Say that again?
I didn't say he got thrown through the air.
Okay, I'll use your word. You got projected.
Projected doesn't mean it's not incorporating just throw. Project just means you get pushed forward. There's two parts of that. There's
Oh
the
my
air,
God,
then there's
this
the
is so
ground.
painful.
Like I said earlier, the tumbling, the rolling, whatever that part of the crash would happen. Projecting is just what we call what happens to a pedestrian post impact with a crash.
Okay, so a couple questions. If his arm, elbow,
Bless mom. Thanks for the
grunt had
10.
a tire impact,
Appreciate it. This is gonna make me be my
how do you
pants.
account for the fact that
Good.
he didn't suffer a broken bone?
True crime junkie. Thanks for becoming a new member.
I don't know.
Appreciate it.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't have a fracture?
Objection.
Sustained.
Look at him. He's like, oh fuck.
How do you account for the fact that he didn't even have a bruise on the arm?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Fair approach.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Good stuff there. I had to play some Alan Jackson. Good stuff. All right. Let's go up and we'll highlight Elizabeth Little. And she did masterful. Was it on cross or direct? I think it was cross with the medical examiner. She did a fine job. And I want to point that out. And listen, we don't see Elizabeth Little a lot doing a lot of the cross or testimony, during this trial, but I can assure you this, and I've talked about this and had conversations with, the Reed team, and she does so much behind the scenes for Karen. And, I know that they have become very close, and she, a lot of the work that is done behind the scenes is from Elizabeth Little. So she's a great addition to this team. It's been a huge support for Karen, and she did a great job with the medical examiner. Okay, let's play through this, and then we'll wrap this up for the night. Excuse me. She does a ton of the legwork. I'm just going to speed up a little bit. Get back from the sidebar.
You are unmuted.
Would you agree that John O'Keefe's injuries to his arm, let's start there,
Did I miss when she first got up?
objection?
All right, that's
And again, I believe, yes, Keith,
Aside from, or a German Shepherd's claws?
all right. I need to go back. I'm sorry.
and again, I believe yesterday in your testimony, you indicated that the skull was a pretty thick bone. Is that correct?
Yes. Sustained.
With regards to the thickness of the skull bone, what if any significance, or what if anything you say as far as the type or amount of force that would be necessary to cause the fracture of the screws?
Overruled.
I would consider the amount of force to be significant, again, without being able to quantify it.
Have one, John?
Yes.
No further question. It's so funny to watch him back.
Doctor, from the internal and external examination that you conducted in regards to Mr. O'Keefe, as well as the other materials that you reviewed, were you able to come to an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause of death of John?
Yes, the cause of death was due to blunt impact injuries of the head and hypothermia.
So we got beat up and then dragged
All
outside.
right, I have no further questions.
Right? Cross-examination?
So what was the result of the death? Well, he was beat up and he was dragged outside. Case over.
Good morning, Dr. Spartibello.
Good morning.
Ms. Little, keep your voice up.
Absolutely.
Be right
You
back.
testified regarding a number of injuries that you referred to as blunt impact injuries, correct?
Yes,
And to be clear, blunt impact injuries are a very, very large category that includes contusions, lacerations, abrasions, and fractures.
correct.
And you've testified similarly that a blunt object can also refer to a large range of objects. Is that right?
Correct.
And I think yesterday you gave the example of a microphone being a blunt object.
Correct.
It could also include something like a baseball bat,
Correct.
a dumbbell,
Could be.
the ground,
Yes.
or a German Shepherd's claws.
Claws. Possibly, yes.
You'd agree that John O'Keefe had a number of blunt impact injuries on his face, on his head, and his right arm.
Yes.
Besides his right arm, which we'll discuss in a second, taking his body from the neck down, he did not have any significant injuries.
From the neck down. Not significant, no.
Let's take those one at a time. No injury whatsoever to his shoulders.
Correct.
No injuries whatsoever to his chest area, aside from sort of the CPR-related injuries that you discussed.
Yes, correct.
And that was in the sternum, is that right?
It was in the ribs, just adjacent to the sternum, yes.
Okay. No injuries to his torso, other than that.
No.
No injuries to his back.
No.
No injuries to his hips.
Correct.
No injuries to his pelvis.
Correct.
No injuries to his thighs.
To his,
Thighs.
no.
No injuries to his knees.
Correct.
No injuries to his shins.
Correct.
No injuries to his ankles.
Correct.
No injuries to his feet.
Correct.
From the neck down, he did not have a single broken bone, again, aside from those CPR-related injuries you discussed, correct?
That's correct.
Not a single fracture.
Other than CPR, correct.
And you spoke earlier about how the bumper was a little higher than on, say, a regular sedan, correct?
Correct.
And so usually in a pedestrian collision, you would see injuries to the knees, is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Depending on the kind of car, depending on the speed, depending on the height of the individual and the car, you might see injuries to their lower extremity. Yeah.
But in this case, you didn't see any injuries to his thighs, to his pelvis, anything even at the height of the bumper. Is that correct?
Correct. At a very minor abrasion to the side of his right knee.
So surely you'd agree that John O'Keefe's injuries, or lack thereof, are inconsistent with having been struck by a 7,000-pound vehicle at 24 miles per hour and being projected 30 feet.
Objection.
Sustained. Break it down, ask it differently.
Would you agree that John O'Keefe's injuries, are, or lack thereof, are inconsistent with having been struck by a vehicle at 24 miles per hour?
I would say it's likely and unlikely at the same time, depending on the position of the body and the vehicle in question.
Well, let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say the person were standing with their arm like this, and they were struck by the rear taillight of a vehicle at 24 miles per hour. Would you agree that his injuries are inconsistent with that scenario?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
I'm just going to move this up a little bit.
The or
Excuse me.
Do you recognize that photograph?
I do.
And is that a photograph that was taken in connection with your autopsy?
Yes, it was taken at the time of autopsy after the face was cleaned.
Move to admit.
I'm sorry, after what?
The face was cleaned up.
Okay.
I move to admit, Your Honor.
Any objection, Mr. Lally?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Exhibit 650.
Permission to publish?
Yes.
Are these the facial injuries that you were testifying to earlier?
Yes.
And could you kind of describe in that photograph what injuries you observed to his face?
The orbital ecchymosis on both eyes, the small laceration to the right eyelid, the abrasions on the nose.
And you testified that the injuries to his face were also the result of a blunt force trauma.
Correct.
So that's the laceration to the eye and the two abrasions that we see there on his nose.
Correct.
And you agree that those injuries don't just manifest out of nowhere, right?
Absolutely.
They have to originate from something.
Yes.
Would you agree that his injuries to his face are consistent with having been punched?
Love
That
this.
is a possibility.
Bam.
You can take that down, Mr. Bates. Thank you. Your internal examination notes also cite a tongue laceration on the right front of the victim's tongue. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you'd agree that a tongue laceration can be also caused by blunt force trauma.
Correct.
And that could also include something like a punch to the victim's face or jaw.
That's a possibility.
In addition to the facial injuries, you described that Mr. O'Keefe had a significant laceration on the back of his head.
He had one laceration to the back of his head. Correct.
I believe we saw a photograph of that a little
Yes.
bit earlier. You testified that the skin around the laceration on the back of his head was also scratched. Do you recall
Yes.
that?
I do.
But you did not testify as to how you opined that might have happened.
No.
Would you agree that someone could certainly get scratched on the back of their head if they were, for instance, dragged on the ground?
It's possible.
Here it is.
You described the open wound to the back of his head as a laceration, which is sort of a blunt force injury that's not the result of sharp force trauma. Is that right?
Yes.
And you'd agree that Mr. O'Keefe's head injury came from some sort of blow to the back of the head, whether it be an object or the ground. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Objection.
And that injury could be the result of falling backward from a standing position onto concrete.
It's possible.
It could also be the result of being struck with a large object such as a baseball bat or a barbell.
It's possible.
In other words, it was an irregular
That was interesting too to hear a baseball bat that first time really brought up in this. That was pretty interesting.
laceration that resulted from some blunt force trauma.
Correct.
I'd like to sort of circle back to those injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's arm. You testified that there were, again, no fractures, no broken bones, no significant contusions.
Correct.
But you did describe the wounds to Mr. O'Keefe's arm as having discrete linear abrasions, which were caused by some sort of blunt objects,
Tired.
correct?
Oof.
Yes.
What does discrete mean?
It means each one is an individual injury as opposed to confluent where it would be all meshed together.
Your Honor, if I could publish what's been previously marked as Exhibit 19.
Okay.
And these are sort of the linear wounds that you're referring to.
Yes.
And you testified that these also sort of appear in clusters or groups. You call them
Yes.
pattern abrasions. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And you'd agree that, for example, road rash does not result in this type of discrete linear wounds.
It could, but not exactly like this.
Well, typically road rash covers sort of a large area of the skin. It would be a large abrasion. I mean, you've seen numerous cases of road rash in your
Yes.
career. And it doesn't look like that.
Correct.
Blunt force trauma can include injuries from various objects, as you testified, including an animal claw,
Correct.
And you'd agree that these discrete linear abrasions are inconsistent with having been struck by a smooth rear tail light at 24 miles per hour.
Objection.
Can you answer that, doctor?
I can't. By
Okay.
a smooth, no.
All right, next question.
By a smooth rear tail light, you said that is not what you would see at 24 miles per hour, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
As you testified earlier, you've indicated that based on the facts that were presented to you, you don't know what caused those significant scratches on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm.
I do not.
May I approach, Your Honor? Sure.
If I could just see what was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lilly. Do you recognize that photograph?
I do. It's a photograph of Mr. O'Keefe's right hand.
May I mark that as the next order?
Is there an objection?
May we approach?
Okay.
Document.
All right, that's it. That's going to be it on cross. Okay. We're going to wind down here. It's late. I worked all day. I'm tired. I need to get home and get some rest. I got to work all day tomorrow, which is always fun. I might do a part 2 tomorrow night. Maybe we'll do that. Or maybe I'll dig something else up. Maybe I'll try to get someone on tomorrow. See if someone's free. We'll go from there. I also have another live that might happen that will surprise all of you. Something that's in the works. And if that person's down there tomorrow, I'm going to try to confirm it so we can get this done soon. But I think it's going to be pretty cool the way we want to do it. So I don't even know what the total is in the room. Maybe we'll do part 2 tomorrow. I want to watch Jackson's closing argument because I haven't seen that. I know he used the look the other way, and I really want to go through that. So maybe we'll do that tomorrow, like a part 2 to some really good moments. $382 total, $95 for Karen. Awesome. So we'll round that up to $100 for Karen. I will make the donation. I will post it on my Facebook page and also post it on my YouTube community page. I'm tired. I'm actually shutting my eyes. I'm tired right now. I haven't felt this tired in a while, and I still have to drive home. So, but I'll let everybody know. Let's see. Tomorrow night, maybe we'll do a part 2 to this and finish up with some kind of key pivotal moments out of all the lawyers, from all of the lawyers, which I think were just phenomenal. And then Monday morning, I will be back down in court to hopefully when we get a verdict and it's not guilty and we can celebrate and have Karen watch her walk out of that courtroom a free woman. So I think it's going to be a hell of a moment. Let me look at the chat poll. So we're going to end the poll. And I asked the question, how many jurors do you think are holding out for a not guilty verdict? 57% of you said 1, 30% said 2, 6 said 6%, and 3 said 5%. So, I'm tired. All right, we'll get that donation up online. Thank you, all of the new subscribers, members, all the supporters that have been over here and have been supporting me for quite a long time now. Since, I really delved into this case back in September and been doing it since then. So we still have a lot more to accomplish and still a lot more to talk about. So we'll get through the process. I'll be back down there on Monday. I probably will live for about an hour when I'm down there at first. And then throughout the day, I'll just capture video. If I can get it uploaded, I will. Probably a fat chance, but you'll have to wait till after. And then maybe I can line something up with Jess Machado on Monday to do another recap. Just have to see what her schedule's like. And I'm sure I'll see her in court. We're at the courthouse on Monday. Thank you all for being here again. I appreciate y'all being here. It's been we're getting to the finish line here. I feel like it's going to definitely happen on Monday, and it's going to be a good result, and we'll be able to celebrate that. And I want to start getting some more live guests in here, because that's why I built this damn studio. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. I am tired. I will make the donation right now before we get off air. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Karen. We'll get it done, and I'll talk to you all soon. Part 2 tomorrow night. Everybody have a great night. Bye-bye.